Welcome to Golf Business Live. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Caron and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and secretary of the PGA of America, Don Rea.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is the March 2021 edition of Golf Business Live. Happy to have my friend and co-host Don Rea, owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club in Mesa, Arizona, and secretary of the PGA of America. Don, how the hell are you? And happy St. Patrick's Day, Donnie boy.
Thank you. I think Ray might be a little Scottish or Irish. I don't know. I've always liked corned beef and cabbage, so I don't know what that means. And
That makes
Guinness is good, a little half and half, but things are good. It seems like these months are flying by, man. It's crazy.
I know. Hey, I got my only green golf shirt on today. It happens to be a Masters Berkman's Place shirt. That's what we call a logo flex right there, by the way. Yeah.
Is that it?
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
That's the logo flex. This is like the greenest shirt I have. It's got this little bit of aqua in there. I don't know. Green's not my color. I don't know. I don't like it.
Hey, speaking of golf fashion, I got to tell you something. It's occurred to me over the years, no other sport or industry or anything has ubiquitous fashion like the golf industry. How many guys walk around America or walk around this globe with golf shirts on, logos on those shirts, hats, etc.? I mean, we have walking advertisements for us throughout the country all the time. That's a pretty great asset, don't you think?
Yeah, it's almost like this underground message that tells everybody that you're a golfer. You know what I mean? And then, if you play a nice course, you always got to buy a shirt from it. So anytime you go to a private club or even here at Augusta Ranch, guys proudly wear some logo from, if they were lucky enough to play Pine Valley or Pebble Beach or something. But it is cool, isn't it? It's kind of just a way to tell everybody else, hey, I'm a golfer.
Well, hey, listen, I need to wear the Augusta Ranch logo, so send me a shirt, buddy. All right.
Absolutely. We're the Augusta. You can shoot in the 60s, Jay. Jay, you could shoot in the 60s.
At a par 63, you bet I could.
Or 61.
61.
61. Don't easy. It's 7 and 11, baby. 7 par 4s, 11 par 3s.
I love it. Well, hey, listen, what is it like in Mesa, Arizona these days? Weather-wise, golfer-wise, what's happening?
It's busy. Certainly didn't get the Canadians down this year. I would say that's, probably maybe have half of them. I don't know. But we're hanging in there strong. January through February was good. Last year at this time, I thought I was sitting on a gold mine. I was like, man, if I can just have a decent March, I'm going to have the greatest year in the history of Augusta Ranch. And then it was literally right around this time that it hit, right? And all of a sudden the snowbirds started migrating back to their homes, and they wanted to go be around their doctors, whatever it might take. But right now, I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, we're doing really well. We backfilled with some local golfers. A lot of new golfers out there. Range is getting beat up because people are beating balls, and we're giving more lessons. Our PGA Hope Clinic's going on right now. There's 40 veterans out there getting their free lessons during the PGA Hope program. But every facet of the player development side of our business is booming, and people are playing golf. And the weather's been ideal, no doubt about it. But once again, we just got to keep these people into the game, right? Because they're here. They are here.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit because there was some interesting stuff that came out from the NGF and other orgs that I want to talk about. And I've got a personal experience that I want to bring to the show about the game and growth. So, but a reminder to the audience to submit your questions or comments in the channel that you have chosen to watch through, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, and we will try to get to them before our time is up. A couple of reminders before we dive into some of the content, that NGCOA soon, within the next month, will be publishing our new, what we call our trend reports. We essentially surveyed and canvassed some of the largest operators out there that oversee over 1,000 courses collectively. We'll have an operations trends report, marketing trends report, and an agronomics trends report that we'll be publishing for our audience soon. So be on the lookout for that. Should be interesting fodder for discussion, maybe for another upcoming Golf Business Live show. And the next episode of Golf Business Live in April, we will celebrate our 1-year anniversary with this show, and we will have Chip Brewer, the CEO of Callaway Golf, on the show to discuss, among other things, the merger with Top Golf and what that could mean for the golf course industry. So looking forward to asking Chip all kinds of questions about this acquisition and why he did it, what it means. I just love seeing bullish investors in golf. right? It's such a positive sign when there's such robust investment in the game and business of golf. But today's session, what we've done is we're cherry picking some topics from some thought-leading publications, the Golf Business Weekly, our own, the Pellucid Perspective, an email that the NGF's chief research officer sent out called Cracking the Code. I want to dive into that a little bit. Maybe talk a little bit about some of the USGA amateur rules status or rules changes that are being proposed. And I've got, maybe a little bit about the Olympics. That's supposed to be coming up soon. And I want to dive in a little bit about what, DJ said or didn't say about the Olympics and just maybe some posturing on that. So why don't we start with, the Pellucid Perspective and Jim Copenhaver and Stuart Lindsay's publication that comes out every month. What they wrote, one of the articles, Don, that they wrote about was about that course closures have slowed down, maybe for the first time in a while. And he's, thinking that it's the primary causes of the slowdown of course closures could be that what he calls is not dividend, COVID end, this COVID end lift or lifeline that a lot of golf courses had this last year. So maybe they are now, they discovered a year in the black, and so they are delaying or shelving the idea of closing. Also, more buyers and creative financing and restructure options are entering the marketplace. So, the question he's asking, or maybe proposing, is could golf be moving out of this toxic asset category? So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think golf has been this toxic asset, or is there more to it than kind of being labeled as a bad asset?
Well, I'm not sure I like that word. I mean, I think it was kind of a struggle to try to get some capital at your facility. If you were going to upgrade something, you're going to invest some money into your clubhouse. So I think it has been tougher. Certainly, you can do something wrong and still be successful at it. And I think some of those golf courses, COVID, there's no doubt. Obviously, we're an essential sport. We were social distancing. And so a lot of golf courses, despite maybe some things that they were doing wrong with pricing, were busy all of a sudden. So it probably did save them a little bit. I don't know for how long. I mean, you still have to get a little bit smarter in this business, but I'm hoping they did, right? I'm hoping this is like an awakening, right? That what we're about is not swing, stance, and score. It's about relationships. It's about people. It's about, walking around your business and saying hello to everybody. It's about your food and beverage operation looking a little differently, right? We didn't get to do those events. I'll tell you what events do at golf courses, Jay, is they hide cost of goods problems. When you're doing a lot of events, a chef can really kind of use some of that stuff. And that's what you're supposed to do when you have events. And then the leftover food, you actually make tomorrow's special, whatever it is, right? That's what we do. But also when you don't have those events, you quickly find out if your kitchen staff is managing, their ordering and what's the cost of goods sold on that stuff. What are you pricing things at? You had to be better in the food and beverage business or basically you're out of it. And so many of us went to takeout. We discovered that might be the golden recipe of success in the food and beverage business, is understanding that percentage of what can be takeout, where's your service levels at, and just making sure your menu's small enough yet big enough to make sure everybody's happy. So I think we do have some smarter operators. So some that were probably not going to make it will make it. Some that weren't going to make it really still aren't going to make it if they don't smarten up. And I think that top tracer, what you just mentioned, I'm looking at it deeply right now because I believe that's what some investors are seeing. They're seeing what Callaway did, and they're like, wow, if golf courses can actually become their own funnel, don't need a third-party provider. If you can do something that brings non-golfers to your facility, convert them yourself, wouldn't that be amazing? And so I think everybody should be bullish on investing in golf again. It's time.
That's it's funny you mentioned the top tracer stuff, and we'll talk to Chip about that next month. But that's one of the things I've been preaching more lately is to, emulate what the big tech companies are doing, what the large companies are doing. Whatever you can emulate, do it, because they're the ones who have spent millions and millions figuring out what to do, and they're probably doing well. So what can you do to emulate that kind of thing? And in some cases, work with them, like a top tracer range. You're not going to create the technology yourself, but you might be able to emulate Top Golf by adding golf entertainment to your facility. So good point there. But Jim Copenhaver also mentioned in the monthly that there are some stories of these golf courses that were due to close down, like maybe a municipality about to close it down, and then some of the community, the local community, comes to its rescue. They gather and they raise money and they save it, because they want it to be green space and golf and continue. and he's not sure that's the wisest thing to do, that there may have been market reasons why the golf course wasn't doing well, and that some, I guess this is a bit of Darwinism, that some courses aren't meant to survive, right? And that's an interesting thing when we have had a supply and demand problem for nearly 20 years, right? So do you think that every golf course should survive?
Well, hey, if you're not good, I don't, believe me, some fellow operators out there, it's like a race to the bottom. They, once again, they think if they lower the prices, they're going to be busier. And right now they're not raising them enough. I've definitely priced myself way above my competitive rate set, even though I'm a par 61. But hey, it's about supply and demand. And right now there's a lot of people playing. I'm not raising the price $20, Jay. I'm just raising it a little bit so I can be more sustainable. I think at the end of the day, on the municipal golf courses, just to get on a little bit of a soapbox, I think those years when golf was really great, some of those cities took all of that money that those golf courses were making, invested in other assets of the community instead of right back into the golf courses. So unfortunately, those golf courses had a boatload of deferred maintenance, and then it hurt them when golf took a little bit of a dip, right, that we all experienced. So I think that's a little unfair, but I think there's some golf courses as you know, Jay, I started a company called Community Course Rescue Services because I think some golf courses need to be rescued. When the property values of that community are based on that golf course, well, then it's okay for the HOA to step in and say, you know what, this is good for the community. And they do stuff like that all the time in communities. That's why you can't park on the street, right? Because they want to make sure that property values stay high. So what's wrong with a community buying a golf course, leasing it to somebody like me, understanding they might need to subsidize the capital improvements, maybe even make the course better than it was before so they can charge a little more? That can change a community's culture. That can change a community's pride. So should some go to sleep? Yeah, they're going to have to. But I think there's others that should be saved because they're the very golf courses that are going to help us grow this game.
Yeah, good. No, excellent. All right, so I want to talk about an article that we distributed this week in Golf Business Weekly by Rob Harris, who's the founder of Golf Dispute Resolution. It's an interesting topic. It's Palm Beach County municipal golf courses they have apparently 600 volunteers that work at the golf operations there in various capacities, whether it's starters or bag drop and all of that kind of stuff. 3 individuals are plaintiffs in a lawsuit, and these are course volunteers, and they're suing for not being properly compensated under federal and state laws. And, there is essentially an agreement that you volunteer and do the following duties, which in many cases are employee duties, taking golf bags out of cars and getting them ready, staging, just that kind of stuff, in exchange for discounted or free golf. I mean, that's kind of the deal, right? For a lot of retirees that kind of love that deal. And you got 3 that have been doing this. And I think one of them in particular complained for a long time about it. So you have, the situation. This is very interesting because it ties in this whole gig economy and independent contractor stuff where, they're saying, wait a second, you need to treat us like employees and pay us like employees. And it's like, at what point are we completely burying the idea of an agreement, a contract, an understanding that I'm going to work here, I'm going to volunteer my time for 8 hours a week here at the golf course. You give me, 50% of golf on every day besides Saturdays. And that's what we do, right? But there's a hand that is forcing the situation for these folks to be treated like employees. And it's reminiscent of the independent contractor problem where, a lot of folks felt like Uber drivers or what have you, that Uber should treat them like employees, right? But you got a lot of golf pros out there, independent contractors that say, no, wait, hang on a second. I don't want to be an employee, even though I'm using your facility and we have this kind of arrangement. And it's kind of forcing the hand, So I don't. How do you feel about that, Don? I mean, do you have volunteers at your course, and are the rules in Arizona? Do they allow that? Are you afraid of having to pay these folks one day? It's kind of an interesting lawsuit.
Oh man, it's hard to be a golf course owner. I'm going to tell you this quick story. I mean, let's be honest. The government is not going to like that because they're not making any sales tax on the green fee, and they're not making any payroll tax when you pay them. So you've completely carved out the government. Government doesn't like to be carved out, Jay. So how do you work around it? I will tell you a quick story. We did used to have kind of this program, just like everybody did. Now you can't do it, Jay. I mean, you're going to get caught at some point. I mean, you might not be on the radar now, but you could get on the radar. And I probably should be quiet right now so I don't get on someone's radar, but whatever. That's why you and I do this show. It's too late. I've stick my foot in a lot of things, but it's funny. It was about 7 years ago. We had this full ambassador staff that would go out there, and it was just for free golf. And they played one day in advance, afternoon. They could book their tee time, and literally caught wind of 3 or 4 of them talking about how this was illegal, and they were going to hire a lawyer, and they were going to sue me for that. So I brought them all into the room and fired them all right at that moment. I said, you know what? I've come to that this is illegal. It's come to my knowledge that this is illegal. So we're doing away with the program effective immediately. And a lot of guys are like, wow, how could you do that? I'm like, listen, I can't take the risk of some lawsuit of 3 people who get some lawyer who's trying to make some cash off these guys. So what we've done, to be quite honest with you, is, there's a committee, right? There's a golf course committee that likes to make sure that people who play Augusta Ranch, or they play on a clean course, they play on a friendly course, and they do what it takes to get people around the golf course. We don't schedule them. They schedule themselves. I don't know what they do. We just go, hey, here's the need. If you guys can be here, that would be great. They don't get free golf. We actually charge them. We give them a heavily discounted annual pass. So they pay for their golf. They're not getting anything for free. And they donate their time because they care about Augusta Ranch, not because of what they're getting. Once again, they got to pay for their jacket, they got to pay for their shirt, they got to pay for everything. But it's it's discounted, and they like it. Now, I don't know, is that completely okay? I'm not sure. All I know is that's what we did when I had some consult with the tax attorney who said, you could do it this way. So, that's what we do. But it's a sticky subject. If you're at a high-end facility that could be really on someone's radar, you should be paying everybody. I wouldn't take that risk at all because it's serious.
Yeah, and one of the bits mentioned in that article too was that the golfers or the volunteers themselves, if they do receive discounted or free golf, they may have to claim that as income. If on their taxes, the value of that. So it's like, well, hang on a second, maybe we don't want to get paid, or But I'm just thinking, whatever happened to an agreement? That I just agree to volunteer here for 12 hours a week, and you give me this, and we sign a document that says that's okay. It's like I feel like contract law is getting changed under us, whether you like it or not. It just feels wrong that, the 2 parties can't agree to something.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to Jim Richardson. He's the president. He's with Troon. They got to do everything by the book. On Thursdays, I have clean pick night. So if you're a kid and you come out and help us out with clean pick, we'll give you free range balls for the next week. So I've got kids out there with their moms and dads. Some of them are 4 years old. Some are 8 years old. Some are 18 years old. And they're out there and they pick the range for us. His clean pick is the faster you can do it, the longer I can keep my range open. And I told Jim that story, and he's like, do you know the liability that's going on? I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm a single individual owner operator. I'm just trying to make things happen. And
did you remind him the range is actually closed while that's going on? Nobody's hitting balls.
Listen, kids get hurt. I had a kid get hurt 2 weeks ago. His brother was swinging the little shag bag that we gave him and hit his brother in the head. He was bleeding. I had to give him a Band-Aid. It's not easy being an owner, Jay. It's crazy. But you know what? You should see these kids, how proud they are when they get their little coupon for their free balls and free golf the next week. I'll do it forever, whatever. I think it's the right thing to do.
One last thing on this is it also popped on my radar screen about kind of the government getting involved when you don't think they're need to or going to. There's some issue in South Carolina right now. I believe one of our members is investigating or checking out where if you have I don't know if it's even a paid staff member or a volunteer using the golf cart, like a ranger, a marshal or a ranger out there using one of your golf cars while on duty, checking on pace of play, customer service, all that kind of stuff, that sales tax has to be paid on the use of that golf cart. Like, wow. I mean, just talk about an overreach. That was just a little shocking.
It's not shocking to me. I mean, I've seen it all, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. I got audited by my liquor. I have a 12 license, which means you have to sell a certain amount of food. In November, the state of Arizona audited my revenue on my restaurant as opposed to my liquor sales. And the restaurant was closed, so we were selling a lot of liquor. Governor Ducey allowed a 12 to actually give liquor, and they could take it, take it to their house or whatever. And we did, just like every other golf course. And then I got audited, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And we passed the audit. But Jay, it was like this much. I don't have somebody to hire to do those forms. I got to figure it out. I got to do it myself. I got to pull up the old point of sale stuff. But it just seems like, it's just, they're always waiting. As soon as they see a little bit of, light that you're actually making some money, they want their piece of it. And so I'm not a really pro government guy.
Let's stop talking about the government and move on to this email that our friends at the NGF sent out. It was Dave Lawrence, who is the chief research officer. He sent out this email, and I think the subject was cracking the code, and he was kind of tackling the retention issue. This COVID bump that we've seen in participation, and how do we keep it? Which is the quintessential question right now. And what I liked is that David framed the retention challenge against the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I thought, here we go. I like this. This is my
love that.
This is my jam. Okay, all right. And he pulls out the 2 layers on the hierarchy of needs: the self-esteem, the need for self-esteem, and then the need for belongingness. And then how is golf, checking the box there? How is it meeting the needs of those who, we want to come back to the game, or, come back meaning again and again and again, right? And, on the esteem level, which is higher on the hierarchy, for those of you that remember your Psychology 101 class, it's, the basic needs are shelter and food, and clothing and all of that, and it moves up to self-actualization. Well, pretty close to the top there is self-esteem. And it's that, in that description is this feeling of accomplishment. And I've always loved Joe Bettitz's phrase, shot euphoria, that feeling of hitting the ball. What I'm talking about, Mr. Professional, that's hitting the sweet spot, that feeling that makes you want to repeat it. And they compare it to that runner's high that you get when you're out there jogging, that, does set into the body, that feels really good. And so, what David is arguing, and I've been saying the same thing of the last probably 2 years, and a lot of my keynote speeches, is that we need to double down on people getting to that shot euphoria as fast as possible, because he's got stats here that basically says that so many of the people that don't come back to golf never experienced that, right? Like something like 80% did not experience it. And 90% of golfers, say they get it, and that's why they come back. They get that shot that comes back. And so I'm like, all right, so instead of, addressing the objections, and we hear this all the time, that the objections to people playing golf, it's too expensive, it takes too much time, and it's too difficult. So a lot of effort's been placed on addressing those issues. If we can somehow eliminate the things causing these objections, maybe the doors will, open up and people will flood to us. And I've been thinking about this more and more, because when you have that shot euphoria, that feeling, these objections disappear. All of a sudden, they go away, and you're willing to spend the money, and you're willing to give the time, and you don't care about the challenge. In fact, the challenge all of a sudden becomes something that draws you in, right? So if that's the key, Mr. PGA professional here, how we need to double down on shot euphoria, right? As the retention answer, not the introduction answer, because you can't sell shot euphoria to someone who's never done it, right? They got to do it. They got to feel it. So I'm going to talk about the objections differently, not under retention, but when someone gets to, when they find their way to golf, how do we double down on shot euphoria? And there are some obstacles to that, Don. I want you to speak on behalf of all 29,000 PGA professionals when you talk about this, right? Like, the perception of, do I really need to pay $75 an hour to get more shot euphoria? Or, how do we change the DNA of this a little bit so that more pros, more great PGA professionals are walking around the range, actively helping people in the moment get that shot euphoria? Or do you feel like they're compromising their lesson fees if they're giving it away? How do we change the pedagogy here so that more people are getting to shot euphoria faster, so those objections disappear faster?
It's already happening, Jay. I mean, the LPGA and PGA professionals who were all in on this American development model, right? And if you go to pga.coach, and LPGA professionals are participating, PGA professionals are participating. There is a movement, there is a revolution on the way that we teach golf, and we're coaching golf now. Will Robbins has some amazing videos for every PGA and LPGA member to watch. And that's what he talks about, is when you're talking to a prospective golfer or someone who's getting back into the game, you know, they were a late golfer, they're back in. It's asking them these why questions. Well, why are you here? Why do you want to play golf? And well, I want to hit it farther. Why do you want to hit it farther? Because I would be closer to the green. Why do you want to be closer to the green? Because I'd have a better score. Also, so really you just want to have, well, why do you want a better score? Because I have more fun. And he drills it back and he says, you know what we've been doing is we've been teaching people what they want instead of what they need. I mean, how many professionals back in the day would say, what are we working on today? We're asking the student, oh, I want to hit my driver farther. All right, let's do it. That hitting the driver farther is going to be harder for the shot euphoria. It's harder to get that shot euphoria with the driver. That's just the way it is. And it's not going to improve the score. They're still going to be brutal because the driver's the toughest club in the bag. It's the longest, it's the lightest, it has the least amount of loft. So we have to give people what they need, not what they want. And that is exactly what PGA.Coach is about. And that's why it's going to work, that what we have right now, this interest in the game, if everybody buys into this, that it's about relationship. You talk about belonging, it's relationship. I got 40 PGA Hope veterans out there right now. They're out there because they feel a little bit better because they're with other people. Not everybody's watching them hit a bad shot. They're all hitting bad shots, having a great time. And when you hit a good shot, and this is why the game grows, is because the high five, if you can do it during COVID, a fist, an elbow, I don't know what you want to do, but one person hits a shot, they look around and say, did you see that? Oh man, I want to do that. And so that's how you grow the game. When you get shot euphoria, you tell somebody else, just like when you had a good meal at a restaurant, Jay, oh my gosh, you have to come here and get the lasagna. It's amazing. And they come and eat that lasagna because you told them it was amazing. And so we can grow the game. Can we retain them? Absolutely. But it starts with us giving people what they need, not what they want, because what they really want in the end of the day is to have more fun. They just define that as hitting it farther. It's not. It's making that putt. It's chipping it closer. So the revolution has begun, Jay, I assure you, and it's exciting. And it's just going to keep working and working and working as we drive people to PGA.com, which drives people to PGA.Coach, which drive them down to PGA and LPGA members. And it started.
I love it, Don. You know, and I just found something I love more than shot euphoria, and that is lasagna euphoria. It is. Oh man, you're talking to the right guy for lasagna euphoria. All right, so let's talk about the belongingness layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And that's where these objections come in. And this is more about the people that are new to the game, right? Is that there is a fear. If you're new to the game, meaning you're just discovering, you're starting to kick the tires, you're overcoming your fear when you go to the golf course, because it's unfamiliar territory for a lot of folks, right? That, you know, you're overcoming the fear of embarrassment, you're trepidatious about this. And all you really want to do is, if there is a belonging on the other side, these things can disappear, right? And also, some people, golf is just a tool for the social aspect. You know, it's like golf is a vehicle, just like it's a vehicle to conduct business, and a great one at that. It's also simply the vehicle for those social aspects. And that's what the belongingness is about, is a social aspect. And so these perceptions of time, money, and difficulty are completely real for those that have not been indoctrinated, those that have not gotten shot euphoria. So these are two separate strategies. That shot euphoria is what we need to accomplish when they're with us, that we got to get there. But to those that aren't with us right now, we have to somehow project those needs that we're meeting, those Maslow needs. You're going to have these needs met when you come to the other side, right? I'm going to bring a personal anecdote into here, and this is my wife, Carrie. So I've been married. Carrie and I have been married. We've been together for 23 years. We've been married for 21 years. I've been in and out of this industry for 25 years. This past year, she took up golf for the first time. I mean, in a meaningful way. She's always played one round with me and the kids every year, just the obligatory, let's go out to Kiowa, have a good time. She'll hit a few irons. But this year is the year she became a golfer, right? And let me tell you what happened. So it took, 3 local ladies to invite her out to a local course out here. They just played 9 holes, and they played captain's choice format. That was a game changer for Carrie, by the way, game changer, because they're distributing the embarrassment factor a little bit and distributing the weight of hitting a good shot, right? So she's not hitting her own ball frustratingly over 9 holes all the time and off in different places. And she contributed some of the shots. There might have been some drinking involved. In fact, I know there was. But, the social aspect of all that, having experience, she was experiencing that shot euphoria in the sense of, wow, we used my chip. Oh my gosh, it was a great shot, what have you. She came home and she's like, Jay, all right, it's time to get my own set of clubs. Let's go. I want to go to the course. Let's go. Let's do it. And I was like, fantastic. Now, let me tell you about what the experience has been so far, because this is a laboratory in my own house for the golf industry. And we belong to a very good private club with a lot of PGA professionals and 36 holes, a great range facility. So what did we do? Well, I'm going to go back to the why here. Why does she want to do this? And from my observation, and if I had her on the show, she might corroborate this or have a different story. But there are two things. There's the shot euphoria itself. Wow, I really enjoyed the aspect of hitting that ball. I really liked it. I want to do it more. And I want to learn how to get better. She's really dialed in, Don, on getting better. Okay, awesome. Because she knows the happiness quotient is related to how often you hit the ball well, right? So, and that she discovered that. Two is that social element, right? That I can go out with the ladies or my husband or my family, go out and have a good time. She's not at all interested in competing and being part of any kind of women's league where they go out there. She's nowhere near that, right? Okay, so we sign her up for a lesson, and she gets a pretty good lesson that's really helping her better than I could, understand the fundamentals of the swing, what to repeat, and she's enjoying that. But what's missing? And I did a video recording for our friend Mark Connerly who runs our affiliates out in Nevada, California, Arizona on this thing. What's missing is what I call the regular thing. What can she sign up for? On a Wednesday, she's like, Jay, if the club had something on Wednesday nights at 5 o'clock just for the ladies on the range and the pros walking around helping us out, that I knew every Wednesday on my calendar, 5 o'clock, I'm there. Something to be committed to, something to feel accountable to. What did she do instead? She bought a 3-pack of lessons, and now she's kind of on her own to schedule it and to make that happen. And it's like, thank goodness the bug has bitten hard here. And so, she really wants to do this, but I would be fearful for the people that have not been as bitten as quite like Carrie was, that we would lose them too quickly, right? And so the club and the courses out there have to have something immediate for them to plug into, whether it's social, learning, or what have you. Otherwise, I think we will lose these folks. So to get to Dave Lorenz's question of, the cracking the code, it's getting to shot euphoria and having that belongingness at the same time with some really fun activities that we can get on the calendar.
No doubt. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? I mean, you have to have ideas at your golf course that you're transitioning people into the next program. I mean, here we have First Tee, we have PJ Summer Junior Camp, so we have PJ Junior League, we have PJ Family Cup, we have Saturday clinics. We try to look at it in the eyes of the consumer. What's next, right? Where do I go next? It's easy to figure out in Little League. You go from T-ball to coach pitch to minors to majors. Golf needs something like that for kids and adults. But you're right. I think, that we've been doing it backwards. The first thing is to get them into an individual lesson. It's not. That's later. To me, it's get them into a group format, a clinic format. Let them experience together. Some women are so happy when another person hits a great shot. And you're right, shot euphoria can be making a 3-footer and everybody's screaming and excited because they won the putting league. So I think the key is exactly what you said, is we have to look through it the eyes of the consumer. Now, that means we have to look at it through women. That's the way it's got to be, because a lot of women are making decisions in houses across of America, and they're saying, hey, Don, you better take Katie out to play golf. That's just what's happening. And so when we're looking at the consumer experience, it can't be through my eyes, Jay. It can't be. It's got to be. There's nothing diverse and inclusive about that. It's got to be about all of the diverse and inclusive populations out there that we're trying to include right now, right? It's about women. It's about men. It's about race. It's about creed. It's about culture. It's about all of those things. We have to open our eyes. And once again, like you said, they might be very welcoming for her as a person, but if they're not inviting her into different things, there's no social connection there. We're too welcoming and not enough inviting. And welcoming doesn't get you there. Inviting gets you there. And that we have to change the way in which we funnel people and transition people through our facility to becoming a regular golfer.
You know, and I think that transition, what I'm realizing because of this personal experience, is the transition for a beginner like my wife has to be in some context with other beginners. You know, it has to be, because right now, if it's the women's night and all of these things, it's still the fear factor of, I'm going to be out there playing with women that have been doing this for 20 years. Some of them might be a little ornery, might not like it that I, swing and miss the ball 3 times before I hit it and all of that. I think of my tennis experience the past 18 months. I really have gotten into tennis pretty enthusiastically. And when I started, the USTA, they rank you by your ability levels, and the club had a culture for me to dive right into at my ability level. So I'm not feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to play these guys that are going to kill me. I'll be embarrassed or what have you. And there's Wednesday night men's nights, Thursday night clinics, and all of these things for, kind of geared towards a 3-0 player. And it's, I'm thinking, okay, what does golf have? Or, golf, it's up to each individual golf course to have something transitional for the true beginners that aren't ready to be side by side with the experienced folks. And so it's good to see so many of those transition programs happening, certainly through the PGA of America. And I know even Op36 out there is doing a great job with the kids, and they've introduced that program to adults as well. So there's a lot going on out there. And I encourage all course owner operators to make sure you've got a real good transition program for those beginners.
Just real quick shot. Operation 36 is no joke. Marva Bernard, president of the LPGA Coaching and Teaching Division, she's down in Tucson making that Op 36. And that's what happens because you're trying to qualify from a different distance. You end up being with the cohort group, which is the power. There's a lot of power in support systems.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, last 2 topics before we close out today's show. One is, and I need you to work on my edification on this one, Don, but the USGA and the RNA are proposing some changes with regard to the rules of amateurs getting paid out, for winning or placing second, whatever, getting paid out for participation and winning in playing local tournaments. And correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially, if you're an amateur, you can keep your amateur status if that prize is worth no more than $750. And traditionally, it's been in the form of like a gift certificate that can be redeemed at that golf course or what have you. And they're proposing to change the rules so that the $750 can be in cash, right, or currency of some kind. And there's mixed feelings about that. So I don't understand the issue very well, as far as the impact to a golf course. So I'd love for you to kind of explain, what you see in this issue, because I felt like it was a little innocuous, but maybe it's not so innocuous.
It's toxic. It's dangerous. This is terrible. And listen, at the end of the day, right, we do a lot of amateur events, whether it's juniors, whether it's adults, men or women, whatever. And those gift certificates, listen, when you're at a golf shop, you can get a cheaper shirt at Costco. You can get a cheaper dozen of balls at Walmart. You can do that. And some people are going to do that. But if you win something here at the golf course, now you've got to buy something here. And I'm not overpricing it. I don't have $10 gallons of milk. My hats are $15. My shirts are $50. They have my logo. You talk about, going green and staying local and these things that this new generation wants to do. Well, making sure that you go to local businesses, small businesses, and supporting them is huge. I think it's high up there, I think, right now with consumers. Cash walks, Jay. If I pay somebody $750 in cash or $749, $750, whatever, they're probably not going to spend it here. I want to spend it in my shop. I want them wearing my logo. I want them buying my putter. I need that. There are a lot of golf professionals who own their own golf shop. They might have some independent agreement with the owner of the golf course. Maybe they're an employee of the golf course, but they also own the golf shop. It is a huge way of making a living, and you need that support. I don't see anything wrong with having them buy whatever they want to buy from the golf course. Cash, it's just you're an amateur golfer. It's not about cash. You want to play with your buddies and do a $100 Nassau, knock yourself out. But if you're going to play in a tournament, whether it's a USGA organized tournament or just my men's club on a Saturday or Sunday, gift certificates, there's nothing wrong with them. I think this is a serious concern for a lot of PGA professionals who own their own shops. I think it should be a serious concern for NGCOA members who own their golf courses, because this money, if you're paying out, you've got 100 players and the payout's deep and you're paying 75 of them, all in gift certs, that money stays in your shop. I know there's golf professionals that'll be affected $30,000 to $40,000 in their compensation. And there's going to be some members at private clubs out there who say, yeah, but we've got a big member guest. and we just want to be paid in cash. Of course you do, but that doesn't support the PGA professional at that facility. So I couldn't be more against this. I've asked all 28,000 individually through emails, texts, social media, doesn't matter. Told them all, write an email today to amstad@usga.org and say you're against this, and be professional about it. I'm not saying anybody has to get crazy emotional about it. But just say, you know what, this is going to have a large impact. I don't think the USGA really understood the big economic impact to a golf course when you change this from gift certificates to cash. It's a big deal. And I think the only reason they're trying to do it is because, hey, maybe you don't spend all your gift certificate. Maybe it's a $10 gift certificate. What am I supposed to do? Listen, the power of a gift certificate, Jay, is if I give you a $10 gift certificate, you're going to buy a $15 sleeve of balls, and I made an extra $5. Listen, that's just the commerce and economics of it all.
Right.
So they are affecting us. And man, if this thing passes, I will be so disappointed. And I'm not speaking as the Secretary of the PGA of America. I'll be disappointed as that hat too. But as Don Rea golf course owner, very disappointed because it will impact me financially. And I wish the USGA wouldn't, mess with my economics. I'm just trying to make it. I mean, granted, we're busy, but there's going to be a downturn. We all know that. I mean, club sports will start up again.
Yeah.
In-person meetings will start up again.
Well, I believe there's a comment period, isn't there? There's a comment period. I think maybe till
ends on the 26th.
Yeah, the end of the month here. Yeah, so the 26th. So I suppose if you're interested in this and you've got a story to tell, to go to the USGA, which is why they have the comment period. It's great. I mean, I'm glad that they do that. And so,
absolutely,
you've got an opinion. You've got, then go and log your opinion with the USGA on this particular issue. And Jason Pearsall, our good friend at Club Caddy, mentions here in the comments that many courses have thousands of dollars in unredeemed credit books that expire and transitions to revenue in some states. The sheet laws on gift cards, that's a state-by-state issue. So if they're, check your state law on what revenue you're allowed to accrue based on the expired or unexpired unused gift cards. Right, that's a whole nother show that I won't get into today. But our final topic, Don, the one that should not be contentious, everybody should love, and it's the Olympics, right? Golf made it back to the Olympics after 100-year hiatus or whatever it was, and the industry worked really, really hard to get us back into the Olympics as a sport, and we saw that down in Rio with Justin Rose. I think took home the gold on that, and. So, but here, last week, it's supposed to happen in Tokyo. The delayed Olympics would happen this summer in Tokyo. And DJ Dustin Johnson was the first to kind of quote that I've seen lately, hey, are you going to go to the Olympics? And he's kind of saying, nah, not really. I got to focus on, the PGA Tour and what they, being a PGA Tour professional. And I got to say, it's just like, maybe I'm just showing my age here. Maybe the young kids don't care about this stuff. But, there was a real sense of pride when I grew up when the Olympics happened. Everybody watched it, and it was a big thing for country pride. I will say that things did change a bit when professional athletes from America started playing in the Olympics. Remember the old basketball, the Dream Team? When they got into the Olympics, we thought, this is going to be, a slaughter out there on the stage. And so that certainly changed, I think, the DNA a little bit of watching sports, and watching who's competing for America. Kind of made it more interesting, but also thinking, wow, you kind of lose that aspect of, remember when it was just amateurs that were competing? And so, here I'm going to propose a thought to you, and I have not checked with Jay Monahan or anybody on this at all. This is kind of off the cuff after hearing DJ's quote. Is for golf. Just golf. Should we go back to amateurs representing the United States, in the Olympics and not the PGA Tour professionals? For a couple of reasons. One, there should be no scheduling conflicts, right? That's one of the issues. Like, there's scheduling conflicts this summer. I can't do it. I can't go to the Olympics. It's every 4 years, but there's too much money on the table, too many tour events to play. And the amateurs don't have to worry about that so much. And we've got world-class amateur athletes that could compete against on the world stage against the globe's greatest golfers. So, I don't know, what do you think that in this sport, if we kind of went back to amateurs playing, so that we kind of disregard the tour professionals who are basically saying meh to the Olympics?
If some tour players don't want to play, I know a boatload of PGA professionals who'd love to play. So I can't agree with your amateur comment because
Okay, all
PGA
right.
professionals. Well, I mean, I understand where you're going with it, but at the end of the day, every PGA professional's got a day job, right? And those professionals of ours that make it into the PGA Championship and a bunch of them make the cut. That's a big deal. They're competing with these guys who that's all they do is play golf year round, and they're multimillionaires.
Let me amend
we go back
that.
to our job.
Let me amend it, my suggestion to non-PGA Tour professionals.
Well, I mean, we have a great relationship as a PGA, with the PGA Tour. And so, I don't want to sound too political on this, but at the end of the day, they don't have to play. You put your name in there. And I just know there'll be a whole lot of people who do want to play. There's a lot of PGA Tour players right now who are really excited about possibly playing in the Olympics. I mean, the golf being in the Olympics, I hope every golfer understands how big this was. This was huge. And why? Because a lot of countries out there want to win gold. A medal is a medal is a medal. And if you start a sport in the Olympics, then they will dedicate a bunch of government money into that sport so that they can win a medal. There is no doubt that golf took a major global jump when the Olympics added golf to one of the sports. So this is a huge day for us. And I would hope that everybody who plays, whether amateur or professional, would understand golf being in the Olympics is huge for our sport. If you like golf, then you should like golf being in the Olympics because it's opened it up to a whole bunch of people who dream now of not making $1, but of getting a medal that you can never take away. So I think golf in the Olympics is the greatest thing ever. It was always a concern for us at the PGA of America that the Olympics and how it could and might kind of bounce into the Ryder Cup because we wanted to make sure players could play in both and would qualify for both. So listen, PGA members are all about America. LPGA members are all about America. And I think if you're about America, then you should be about America winning medals. And winning a medal in golf is a double bonus, is my opinion. So
I'd love to see I'd love to see the top American tour players get more excited about competing in the Olympics for America than they do when they play in Dubai. That's what I'm going to say.
It's America. I mean, look at the Ryder Cup. I mean, and the President's Cup. There's something playing for your country. But how about getting a gold medal in the Olympics? I mean, those are a rare thing. I know some guys got a whole bunch of them. Michael Phelps has a whole bunch. There's a lot of people who were this close to getting a bronze, and it broke their hearts forever, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, let's get that excitement quotient up because, we want to see, America's best play. So we got to, we are an exceptional nation with exceptional golfers. Let's compete. That's right,
USA, baby. USA. Come on.
Well, let's just be grateful that the Olympics are coming back, right? And then we get to see the Olympics. And our friend Sarah Hirschland, who used to be kind of the number 2 at the USGA, is in charge of the U.S. Olympic Committee, and Paralympic Committee. So great to see Sarah and, a great woman from the golf industry head up the U.S. Olympics. So anyway, we'll end on that note. Don, thanks for your time again today. For the audience for tuning in, it was great having you. And, we'll be back middle of April with Chip Brewer, CEO of Callaway Golf, for the next edition of Golf Business Live. Until then, happy swinging. Have a great month, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.